So what we got on this episode is Loneliness Part 2. I've had another think, and I've come up with some thoughts about how your unconscious mind is doing the best for you by making you feel as lonely as hell, and also how to change it. So, oh, by the way, and this is not just for loneliness. The processes that I go through here and the thoughts and beliefs I have about here could be for anything. So if you have anything, and we all have a listen to this because it will help. I hope that's of interest to you. So I'll catch you after this. Hey, welcome to the Personal Development Unplugged podcast. So pleased you're here. Your time is valuable and precious. So what I would like to do is fill that time that you share with me with the most shiny golden nuggets to help improve your life, to get your goals, your wishes, your dreams to come to fruition quicker, bigger, better than you could ever imagine. Using your imagination, using hypnosis, using NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, all of that, using all things of the mind. No brain hacks, but real solid processes to deconstruct what people do to become great. And then find the processes that we can install that in ourselves to support you in your dreams and get what you really want in life. Anyway, who am I? I'm Paul Clough, and just going to have conversations with you in this podcast and get you thinking, but also share those processes because we're going to have so much fun. That's it. We're going to have fun for a change because we can sit down for a spell and have more fun than we can stand, creating the world we want to live in and be the person we want to be in that world. The only limitation is your imagination. And you got bucket loads, by the way, bucket loads. Have a listen. You really must.
This is Personal Development Unplugged with Paul Clough.
In simplicity, there is genius.
In simplicity, there is genius.
Hey friend, how are we doing? You good today? Are you really good? I know you're good. We're going to talk about loneliness. I'm going to start this right again. We are going to talk about loneliness again. It's like a part 2 because I've had another thought about it. Another thunk. And even if you don't suffer from loneliness, I think it will just help if you, well, even with other things, because the things I'm going to talk about will apply to anything you're working on. But I'm specifically addressing it now to loneliness. See, a long time ago, I don't know why and where it came from, but in my journaling, when I used to buy a new journal, I used to write in the front cover, just not on the front cover, but in the first sheet that came along. And it was always, never alone, never by myself, but always with myself. I'm not quite sure when that happened. It could have been sometimes when I don't particularly like to think about them, but I can. Because I know it gave me a connection. Each time I knew in that journal there's going to be a connection with my unconscious mind. I call it, or call him, me, my twin, you and I. Some of that came from a process I did in my NLP trainings. And it's just stuck with me for 20 years now. You and I, that is my unconscious mind. And it just seems to make sense to me. And the thing is, what it's made me think about or realize, whatever happens to me, whatever happens, any kind of shit can happen to me, I've still got me. It's never going to go away. And in some ways, I was thinking about this just this morning. That got me through I'm going to say this with my lips, a very dark time in my life. And I was just thinking a little while ago, it didn't seem that long. Not now, anyway. But when I think about it, really, it was a couple of years. Being acutely dark to a bit of grey, I suppose. But it did. And I got a feeling this never alone, never by myself and always with myself came from that type of thing, because I just knew it. I just knew it. You and I, my unconscious mind and me, nothing will come between us. And I've always got that inside me. So you may think, whoa, bloody hell, nearly swore then, loneliness. And all I've got is me. Yeah, but the thing is, I know it doesn't seem like that. Didn't in my little time, and I have to say, I've never really suffered loneliness to a real heavy degree, a deep degree, or whatever you would like to call it. I was pretty lonely back then, but it wasn't, well, I got through it. But I did always have my best friend. And so do you. And it doesn't matter what issue you're going through, whether it's loneliness or anything else, really. You've always got your best friend. Sometimes we just forget. But they're always there for us. And the thing is, whatever we're going through, and we're specifying now, specificity, lovely word, loneliness. And you see, there's an NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. There's a presupposition, which are just like useful assumptions. That's the way it's put down, I think. Every behavior has a positive intention. Okay, think about that for a little while. Every behavior has a positive intention. And I'm going to go through some other stuff in a minute, but just think about it. Think about the old panic attack, good old panic attacks. Now, in some ways, what's the positive intention of a panic attack? Well, it stops you in your tracks, doesn't it? It stops you in your tracks. You're not going to do nothing. You're going to do nothing at all. So the things you're not going to do are not going to get you in trouble. You know, you're not going to get frightened by doing that thing over there. But we'll talk about that in a minute. What about having an anxiety? Slightly different from a panic attack, I guess. You know, when we just have fear. But the thing is, what does fear do for you? It feels crap. But it really makes you consider the consequences of doing something. Sort of, anyway. What about grief? What about grief? Maybe you're always remembering the thing you did or that person. Because you do. When you got grief, you are remembering them. I'm going to go into all of those in a little bit more detail. But the thing is, when we have an issue like that, loneliness, anxiety, panic attacks, grief, it's all like a massive conflict to me. A massive conflict between that behavior. And by the way, they might seem like emotions, but they're only bloody behaviors. And we can see they've got like a positive intention. But there's now a massive conflict between the intention to keep you safe in some way or other and the behavior. And the behavior is also, to me anyway, not about anybody else, to me, it's the emotion you're feeling at that time, the thoughts you have, that internal voice, the pictures you make in your mind, they're all just behaviors. You see, in a panic attack, it really stops you doing that bloody thing to keep you safe, but you are the most unsafest person around. Certainly to be near, because if you're all over the place, you're a mess. So there's a conflict of keeping you safe by making you feel unsafe. Being unsafe in real physical terms. Wouldn't it lovely to know you're always going to be safe, though? Intention, good. Behavior, crap. Anxiety, fear. You know, it makes you think of the consequences. But then what happens is, with that emotion, it brings out thoughts of what might happen. Might really stretch it. Go even further. What's the worst that could happen? The worst never bloody happens, does it? The worst has never ever, well, maybe it has. But in my life, the worst has never happened. I've always, somehow the worst thing was happening to me at that time, and it's now in the past. I got through it. But there is a button here. It's a conflict. Because you do not carefully consider the consequences and take action, appropriate action. No, you just wallow in those pictures in your mind, the thoughts, internal voice, and you just do nothing, which is worse. So not only are you're considering the worst consequences, but you're not taking any mitigating action to look after yourself to be safe. And you then become unsafe because you worry more. And guess what? Anxiety, worry doesn't really help your health. That's not safe, is it? What about grief? Remembering that person. Let's talk about grief in that way. Remember that person who's passed, left you. But the trouble is, yeah, there's a wonderful intention. Please, we want to remember this person. But we remember them in a bloody painful way. Bloody awful, isn't it? You know, when you really get that hollow feeling and you miss that person so fucking much. Sorry about the swear, but it just came out. You do, you just miss them, don't you? There's a void. And I don't quite know, I don't get it because it's a void, but it's also painful. And I know how to get over it. But the thing is, we should remember things in a good way because that's not remembering. That's just pain. That's pain and wanting them back. And that's not going to happen, is it? We want to remember people in a good way because they were there for us in those good times. So that's not working, is it? Remembering people in a negative, uncomfortable, shitty way, because that's the last thing that they would have wanted for you. And I know for a fact that's the last thing you want if you have friends and family and children. You don't want them to think about you when you go that way. You want them to remember you fondly, don't you? With love and care and joy. Now, you can see those conflicts. Wonderful intentions. Well, the wonderful intention, but the behaviour is now inappropriate. I actually wrote my notes shit behaviour, but I didn't say that. They're inappropriate. That's why we call it in NLP. In my professional, I don't know where I go to that, but it's a inappropriate behaviour. But when you first did it, when your best friend, your unconscious mind, tried to protect you, it was the only bloody thing it could do with the wisdom and experiences that it had. The unfortunate thing, it hasn't changed. It hasn't taken any of your new experiences and all your wisdom that you have now and all the learnings and the skills and experiences. It just keeps doing the same old thing, but it just does it a little bit more extreme, more intense, trying to do its best for you. But through all of that, though, I had to think, what is not just loneliness, because that's like just loneliness of a small, with a little L. That's just like being alone for a bit, isn't it? But loneliness, acute loneliness with a capital L, well, that's not something I don't think I've really suffered. But I thought, hang on a minute, Cluffy. The clients you work with, have you worked with people that, or with issues that you haven't had in your life? Experienced them? I go, hell yes, of course I have. Of course I've worked with people that I haven't had their issue. Because their issue is personal to them anyway. But again, their issue is purely a bloody behaviour. And I can work with behaviours. Because behaviours to me are the thoughts you have, the internal voice, the emotion, and everything like that. But what you don't want, you see, you don't need empathy. And I think it was FMQ, something like 181, when I talked about I don't like empathy. Because I don't need to feel your feelings. Not in the negative sense. I'll have a bit of empathy when you're feeling great because I'll come and join you. But if you're feeling, really negative, I don't need to feel those feelings to know it. I just got to believe you. I can see it and hear it in your voice and the things that you say. What you want is compassion. Someone's going to help you. Not just feel the same as you. That's not going to help anybody, is it? And in fact, I know one or two great therapists were so empathetic, they actually began to get ill because of the things they'd taken on from their clients. So that's where I drew the line. I went, no way. But I can be compassionate all day long. Well, I try to be. I do drop the baton sometimes. So I had to think really hard, knowing that I haven't got that empathy, but I've got compassion. So what's the intention of behaving lonely with a capital L? Yeah, you heard it right, behaving lonely. Well, maybe, I thought to myself, maybe, Cluffy, it's the fear of failure. Or maybe it's a fear, there's sort of fears in this, but, experiencing embarrassment, being embarrassed. Maybe it's rejection, the fear of rejection. A lot of fears in here, isn't there? Or maybe things like the imposter syndrome, just going out your door and go, they'll find me out. They'll find me out. You see, they're great things to be protected for, aren't they? I'd love to be protected for never having to fear failure again. Be protected from failure. I'd love to be protected from embarrassment. I'd love to be protected from rejection. Never to know rejection again. Never to have or feel like an imposter. They'll find me out. If I had that as a superpower, shit, I'd be awesome. But the thing is, the effect and the conflict are the same thing. Because, when you're getting protected from the fear of failure and therefore you don't go out and you're experiencing a loneliness with a capital L, you feel a failure. I know you do. You feel embarrassment. I'm sure you feel like you've been rejected by the whole world. You feel an imposter, and you even feel an imposter not going out, not meeting people. So as you can see, the effect is the same as the intention. Therefore, there's a direct conflict. The thing is here. I know I'm talking to you and you're listening to me. This is also going into your best friend. You're in your unconscious mind, because when your unconscious mind gets it, it's going to start saying, oh shit, am I doing the wrong thing? We want to keep the intention, don't we? Absolutely. Because I want to be protected from all that stuff. I just want to find it a better way, a way that I'm comfortable with. So you work out what you're feeling when you're feeling at your loneliest. Just, if you could, put a label to it, and then notice that's what you're trying to be protected from. It's one and the same thing. So we just want our unconscious mind to find a better way. So maybe just spend a bit of time on that. But then again, then also, we have this thing called limiting beliefs. Now, we call them limiting beliefs in NLP and timeline therapy. Some people might just call them negative beliefs. But you see, I like limiting because it limits the stuff you're allowed to do or you can do. What type are those, Cluffy? Wow. Let me share this one with you. Have you ever heard of this one? It's not very it's not commonplace. I'm not good enough. You hear every bloody where. Little sarcasm-y type thing. All my clients, not all of them, but a vast proportion of my clients and my coaching clients all have I'm not good enough. And when you add that to those emotions, that'll keep you staying away from meeting people, sharing your experiences, and just communicating, connecting. I don't belong here. It's another one. That'll stop you going out. That'll stop you going to meet friends, becoming interested and interesting. Then you get the ones which like, I'm stupid. So if I go out there, it's a bit like imposter. They'll see that I'm stupid. Or I'm not worthy. They're the belt and braces, aren't they? I'm not worthy. I'm not stupid. I mean, you put the limiting belief and the emotion together, and that is the belt and braces. That'll keep you stuck away from people with wonderful intentions to keep you safe, but it feels the most unsafe place to be. I can understand that. I don't have to have empathy for it. I just get it. And the thing is, as I said, just think for the moment, if you knew with 100% certainty that you'd always be protected from those feelings of, say, fear of failure, embarrassment, rejection, imposter, or that belief, I'm not good enough, I don't belong, I'm stupid, I'm not worthy, or any of the emotions that you're feeling, the negative ones, or any negative and limiting beliefs that you have, if you knew that they could never exist and you would always be protected from that, they were to disappear. The emotion, the belief. How good would that be? Could you be lonely? Well, you wouldn't be lonely. You could choose to be by yourself, with yourself, always with yourself. Because you would choose that. But you'd also choose when you would connect. And there is I think it's a biological thing. I've heard it so many times that part of living is just connecting, being with other people. And I'm going to do a podcast with like a Lonely 3 with some real cognitive ways of doing that. But at the moment, I just want you to get this. See, just knowing that if you were, and you were always protected from those feelings and from that limiting belief, what would that feel like? And what would you believe and could you believe about yourself? Just think of that. And I know when I work with my clients and I say, when this emotion goes, that limiting belief goes, and everything was just disappeared, but you were always to be protected, what would it be like? What would you feel? And they go, oh, it'd be total freedom, Paul. I would do this. I'd do everything I told you I'd dream of, because nothing could stop me. So I'm really sorry about this next bit. I really am. But you got plenty of time if you're lonely. You got plenty of time for this. I'm joking. This is my compassionate way of trying to break it down a little bit. Just get that pattern interrupt. Get that puzzle book, the ones that are ready and available in every good bookshop and downloadable and all that stuff. It's just a plain piece of paper basically wrapped up in a book. And write it down. What would that feel like if that, whatever emotion you're feeling, which we've labeled lonely, and every limiting belief that's attached to that loneliness were to disappear, never exist in your life ever, ever, ever again? What feelings would you experience? What belief in yourself would you have? And also just notice, because I know you got this and you might think you haven't. Have you ever felt like that before? And you really got to think about this, because you're going out of this enclosure of loneliness to the rest of your life. And just notice, yeah, I've had glimpses of that before. Because you have. I know you have. And just when you write all of that down and just think about it now, I know you have. I know you just thought, I know there isn't anything, but you just think now, just for a moment or two. Just go back to times when you experienced a good thing in your life. And it doesn't have to be good, mega good. It just needs to be maybe a chill time, maybe just with one person, or just being part of a group. Not necessarily the head of the group, but just being part of something, contributing. Because I know you've done something like that before. I say write it down. Write all of those down. And then maybe even write this down and think about it. You could write down and ask this question. How can I keep this intention? Because I know it's positive. and feel this new way, this old new way, as it were. This way when the issue has completely disappeared and loneliness has disappeared, the beliefs have disappeared, the emotions have disappeared, the negative behaviors have disappeared, everything like that, all those thoughts. And it's so freeing. Feel it. And just ask, when I feel this safe, that's keeping the intention. What new behaviors, what new beliefs could I have to keep it this way? And imagine it now, just for a bit. Now, I know for a fact, well, not a fact, I don't know this. I made that bit up because I do. But a lot of people will say, oh, I can't do that. I'm in this problem so much. I've experienced it for so many bloody years, Paul. I can't imagine things like that. Well, that's bollocks and balls. But you just don't know it. But you do know it, but you don't know it. So here's the thing. Here's how to imagine what it would be like when you're totally free of all that negative stuff. You think to yourself, well, look, if it's never going to happen, I can make it up. And I can make it up in my imagination. Just like a dream. Because if it's never going to happen, I can now make it up because I can just do it. Because there's no problem then imagining it. I mean, I've had people who are shit scared of flying. And I get them to imagine going on a plane flight in their mind. Because it's never going to happen, so now you can go and do it. And they do. No one has ever not been able to do it. So, as if this was never going to happen, just take the next few minutes. Do it now with me. If you can, and it's safe to do so, you can close your eyes. Not hypnosis, but sometimes just take away the distractions. And if it's okay, remember, I'm a therapist and not your therapist and all that stuff. And make sure it's safe to do so. Just maybe close your eyes, take a nice deep breath. Just so you can just relax and think about my very calming voice, because I was a bit excited a minute ago. And just begin to imagine being free. Free to connect. Knowing that you're perfectly safe. You can be the most comfortable, safe just now. Imagine what you'd be able to do. Not that it's going to happen. But if it did, how would it be? How would you do this stuff? Maybe just even imagine you're there right now, looking through your own eyes. How would you see the world differently when you have this opportunity, knowing that you're just perfectly safe in this world? Nothing can hurt you. Your unconscious mind is going to protect you from anything. So you now can go and enjoy. Joy is a lovely place to be. Just enjoy. Just imagine maybe just going out and sitting in a coffee shop. Just watching people. Just observing people. And maybe you'll see somebody and they'll smile at you. And you can smile back. It's the first bit of connection. Just imagine any scenario. I can make up hundreds, but I want you to be able to do it yourself. Imagine just being there with somebody, maybe a best friend. Maybe an imaginary, let's have an imaginary friend. Maybe this is your imaginary friend who enjoys the same things that you enjoy. And you're just having a good old chin wag. You're just shooting the breeze. Connecting. Totally safe. And notice how safe and comfortable you are. And I wouldn't like your unconscious mind not to begin to learn from this too quickly. Don't worry about the words, they'll just go in deeper. And as you maybe go through one or two different scenarios, or just one in detail, and you notice that feeling, you might be able to think, I wonder what's the smallest step I could take that that, if I did, would lead me on to this. And maybe you just imagine what that step is and imagine taking that step with this feeling of safety and comfort. And then another step. And you can keep on doing this. And if you want, you can open your eyes now, but you can imagine so many different scenarios. I mean, this is a joke, but to be fair, you've got plenty of time at the moment. So you're not going anywhere. But you will in a moment, because you can go through, that was a joke, honestly, but you can go through different scenarios in your mind. It doesn't take long. It really doesn't. And you can just have fun with it because it's just in your imagination. But every time you imagine a different scenario, a different context, feel those wonderful feelings of safety. Because I wouldn't want you not to take and start those small steps quickly now. And there'll be more to come. And there'll also be more to come on this loneliness. But as we were specifically talking about loneliness, can you see how this would work for things like fear, anxiety, panic attacks? Any issue you have, you could apply this same process. I've just labelled it loneliness because I wanted to think and hone my mind into that loneliness. It's important to me. It's important that I can do something to share it, because I know I suffered a little bit once and it was fucking horrible. But it didn't last. I got through it. My best friend was there. And so can you, because you've got your best friend doing its best for you right now. Now it can just find a better way right now. You see, when I talked about compassion, and I knew the pain that you've been in the past, because I just wanted to help to return to pleasure, the pleasure of living your life. You see, all these behaviours, they're not bad. When I talk about someone like a part of me, they think it's a bad part, an evil part. And it's not. It's a wonderful part. It's got the wonderful best intention. It's got a massive amount of energy because it's been doing it for bloody years. But those behaviours and limiting beliefs are now inappropriate. So all we say to your unconscious mind is, no, keep the intention. It's a lovely intention, positive intention. But notice the conflict and change the behaviour. Find better behaviours, healthy behaviours, supporting behaviours that feel good. And we just have to keep that door open. And when it comes to loneliness and things like that, it's just a metaphor. Because you can go through that door. You can come back. You can go out again. You can leave it wide open. Leave it just a little crack. But there's so much wonder in the world. And we deserve it. You deserve it. You deserve to experience the wonder of the world, or the wonders of the world. We don't want to miss anything. Nothing at all. So maybe there's been a little reframe in there for you that really resonated. I hope so. Because I thought, why is this important, what I'm talking about? And it was important. I felt it. If there was an importance for you, it would be this understanding of the conflict. So you just let it go. And for me, it keeps me alive by thinking about these things. So these things are important to me and you. I hope I've made complete and, 100% complete sense. I know I haven't. But we've all got hope. Hope is good. Hope is good. I'm going to get better at it. I know I will. And if there's any way you think I can get better, please email me, feedback@personaldevelopmentunplugged.com. There's a .com at the end of that. And if you are feeling lonely, suffering from loneliness, and you're listening to this and go, Paul, Jesus, you missed the mark, Paul. Come on, Cluffy. That is sort of right, but there's more. Tell me what the more is. Please tell me what the more is so I can then get me thinking and coming up with something. How do you do that? Hit the same bloody email. Come on, feedback@personaldevelopmentunplugged.com. Sing it with me. So yeah, just let me know if I'm off the mark. Get me back on point, as it were. And I don't know, I've been told never do this, but I'm always going to do it. Is please share this, because everything I do, I hope, has some golden nuggets in and is interesting to somebody. I know every episode will not have the same effect on everybody, just the same effect it has on me. But over time, these things get good. But you might just share this with one person that it makes a difference with. And how good would that feel? Because you do never know how far the ripples of change go. And you're not doing it for any other reason than just to share and help people. Just like we all are here in the Personal Development Unplugged podcast. Unplugged podcast. So do share. It would be awesome if you did. Share every episode to all your friends. Because your best friend, your unconscious mind, wants you to do that, by the way. Anyway, that's it. So I do hope you enjoyed it. I do value your time. There's so much out there to take your attention, and for you to give me your attention just this half hour or so. I am, full of gratitude to you. And let's hope we're all making the difference that makes a difference. And if you're not a difference person, let's hope the sameness makes a difference for you too. So have more fun than you can stand. And, you go fly.
Warning, you are now leaving the unplugged mind of Paul Clough. It's time to fly on your own. Be brave, my friend.
Personal Development Unplugged.